Okay, we are starting today, this is second hour. We have so far reviewed chapters 1 and 2. We're starting with chapter 3 today. If whatever you're missing on your packet should be on the previous videos. But 3.1 to 3.3, this is the calculator portion. And what you need to know on this portion for your final exam is the max and the min, the concave up and the concave down. So for this one, the questions that you're going to be asked, you will be given a function, and it may be graphed for you. Okay? This one gives you this function right here, 5x cubed plus 4x squared minus 5x plus 3. When you graph it, that's what it looks like. So I'm going to sketch this graph like that. So right here, this is your maximum value. This x value, this is your max, and the x value is negative 0.6. That's your max. So your max is negative 0.6. Your minimum, right here, this is your minimum value, is 1.05. And my scale is not, I'm just sketching a picture, 1.105 or 1.05? 0.105. Okay, so now, how do you analyze this graph? See if you remember this. We read a graph from left to right. You will be asked on your exam, this is on your exam, the interval where it's increasing is from negative infinity to negative 0.6. It's decreasing from negative 0.6 to 0.105. And it's increasing from 0.105 to infinity. And that's how you analyze the graph. This CON means constant. There is no constant. You need to know the inflection point. The inflection point is the x value in between the maximum and the minimum. How you get that is you average these two. So if you added these two up and divided by 2, what do you get? Add these two up and divide by 2. What do you get? Negative 0.6 plus 0.105, divide by 2, and you get negative 0.55, let's say. So that's your inflection point. So this tells us that our graph is concave down from negative infinity to this point, and it's concave up from this point to that point. This question is on your test. Okay, so if I gave you a question, on your test, and I use these numbers, would you be able, let's say I went, let's say I made this the maximum, and this the minimum. Something like that. Actually, I'm making, sorry, I'm making that's 1. It'll be clear. That's the number 1. Okay, so if I said what's the maximum, what would you say? How would you answer that? What's the maximum? -2. What's the minimum? 1. So the max would be -2. The min would be 1. What would be the inflection point? You would add these 2 up and divide by 2. Be -0.5. Can you tell me the interval where it's concave down? Concave down would be -infinity to -1/2. It's concave up from -1/2 to infinity. Does everyone understand that? So right here, it's concave up, concave down. Can you tell me the interval where it's increasing? It's increasing from -infinity to -2, union 1 to infinity. And it's decreasing from -2 to 1. There's like 5 questions from this. Does anyone have any questions? It's just like I went over this. The inflection?
On the one we did. Is it 0.55?
Yes.
Okay, only divide by 2.
Yep.
0.2475.
-0.6 plus 0.105, and then, oh, I know what I did wrong. Yep, my bad. The on the test question, the inflection point, I know what I did. I divided this by 2. I should have hit enter. So on the test, the actual inflection point is -0.25. So let's change this. Thank you for fixing that for me. Thank you. So, I want everyone in this class to get those right. The concave up, concave down, inflection point. Does anyone have any questions? There's about 5 or 6 of those questions. Good? Okay, number 2. Don't stress about. We are now on 3.1 to 3.3, the non-calculator portion.
But aren't we using a calculator?
Yeah, can we use a calculator?
Okay, so the next question, number 1, do you remember how to determine whether the equation defines y as a function of x? What did I tell you to do? Solve it for y, get y by itself, and if y is an odd power, it will be a function. But if y is an even power, that's where you have to take the square root of both sides and you do the plus and minus, and then it wouldn't be. And then it wouldn't be. Okay? Okay, how about number 2 is on your exam, especially this one. You guys know how to evaluate a function, right? What does this tell you to do? If they ask you what's g of negative 5.2,
Plug in for G.
you're gonna plug in negative 5.2 into which function? This one? No. Into this one, the one that's named g. Does this mean absolute value? No. It's the greatest integer, right? What do? You round down. You go to the left. Well, where is negative 5.2? Think of a number line. Here's negative 5.2. Go to the left. So what's the answer? Negative 6. Now, what did I tell you the greatest gift you're getting from us?
Calculator.
Calculator.
Where is the greatest integer function on here? I don't see it. It's here.
Stop looking at food.
Right here.
You're the girl.
Okay. Right there. Nope, that's not it. On this calculator, you hit math, num, Yep. It is. Number 5. I don't know where it's at on the Inspire. I thought it was. I thought it was that button, but I guess it's not. I'll have to find it. All right, for this one, you know how to plug 4 in here, right? What's 4 squared? Plus 2 times 4 minus 4. So that's 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So what's this answer? It's 18. Next one, what's the difference quotient rule? What you do here is you plug x plus h into this. So what is x plus h squared? So you're going to take this, and then you're going to minus f of x, which is going to be that, and divide this whole thing by h. So you would simplify this. And the good thing is this is not on your exam. Good news. And number 5 is, how do you find the domain of any function? The domain of any function is what numbers could you plug in to this problem to make it work? And I want it in interval notation. So, we've got a couple problems. All right, let's look at this. First of all, we've got a square root. We know with square roots, for this one, we can't have any, if it was a cube root, we would have no problem. But we can't have any negatives. So what's underneath here has to be greater than 0. Greater than or equal to 0. It could be 0, but it has to be greater than or equal to. So we would subtract 8. So in the numerator, the only numbers we could use are numbers from -8 and greater. That's our pool of numbers. So our domain are -8 and greater. But there's a number that we can't have in the denominator. What is that? You have to, so here we are starting at -8, we're moving along, and at good old number 4, what happens? Pop a hole here. Can't use it, why? Because it would cause a hole. Bless you. So how would you express your domain in interval notation, starting from here, starting from this point, and going on this way? So if you were Super Mario Brothers and you were right here, and you were like, you know how it jumps around, can it go, what happens if it lands right here? What would it do? Ooh, it would fall through the hole, right? So it can't go here, that's danger. It's gotta go here, and then what do? Hop, like that. So our domain, and this is on your test, on the exam, it looks like this. -8, comma, 4, parenthesis, union, 4, infinity, parenthesis. So like, what if I gave you something like, what if I gave you something like this? What's the domain? Very good. Okay. Just wanted to see if you can do that. All right, how about one of these piecewise functions that are on your exam? This is on the exam, one of these. So this is called a piecewise function. This one happens to be 3 pieces. Sometimes it's in 2 pieces. This is saying only use the top one, only use x squared when x is between -4 and including -4, but not including -2. So the first one between -4 and -2. That top one. If it's between -2 and 1, you use that one. And if it's bigger than 1, you use the bottom one. Okay, so here we have to answer these questions. The x value is -2. Which one do we use? Why the second one? Why not the first one? because that's an equal to sign, not that one. So what do? You plug -2 in where? Right here. What's -2 minus 3? Yep. And what about this one, 3? Plug 3 where? To the last one. 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is? Oh, 6 plus 1 is 5. 6 plus 1 is 7. Now, the domain of this problem is the combination of all these x values. It starts, the smallest x value is -4, and it continues on through to infinity. That's how you would write the domain, in interval notation. Okay, next one. Number 7, these were easy. Are you able to tell me what, if you plug in 0 for x, here's a function. If you put 0 in for x, what's the output? So input 0, output -1. Input 3, output -1. Now, why isn't it this number right here? Because it's, and you probably can't see it unless I zoom in. The reason why it's not that point, because that's an open circle. And an open circle means not including that point. We can skip number 8. We can skip number 9. What does number 9 graph to be? What does it look like?
Same thing.
Yep, it's a step function, and you can use your calculator to graph it. Okay, these ones, there's a few pieces, bits and pieces of these on your test, here and there. So there were 3 forms. This is the quadratic formula. They're these are in quadratic form, but there's 3 forms. There's polynomial form, there's transformation form, and there's x-intercept form. So what you have to be able to do, you will be asked to find the vertex. It's on your test. You will be asked to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Those are on your test. So regardless of what, let's do, how about, we don't have to do them all, but let's start with, let's do 11, because that's closest to what is on your exam, number 11. Because the other ones are, it's repetitive. Let's start with 11. How will you find the vertex? How do you find the vertex? Plain and simple. What's the formula for the vertex? Negative b over 2a. So what is the b value? It's 6. So it's negative 6 over 2 times negative 3. So negative 6 over negative 6, which is 1. Now the other amazing thing is you guys have a calculator. You can type this in your calculator. But let's do it by hand. So your axis of symmetry, which I don't have here, but it's, the axis of symmetry is 1. So what amazing point lies on the axis of symmetry? Your vertex. So how do you find that maximum or minimum point? You plug 1 in here, so -3 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1 minus 1. So you get -3 plus 6 minus 1, so it's 3 minus 1, which is 2. So 1, 2 is your vertex. Over 1, up 2. Now, if I asked you what the y-intercept is, you should know because this is in polynomial form. Actually, this is not poly. This is in poly, that must have been a typo. Oh, this is in. It's in polynomial, this must have been a typo. So this right here is going to be your y-intercept. So 0, -1. And is this going up or down?
Down.
Down. Now, do you remember how to find the x-intercepts? Yep. Do you know another point on the opposite side here? Right here. So this thing is going like this, right? Now, how do you find where it hits the x-axis? That is where you will do what? How do you find the x-intercepts? You can try to factor it. You can do the quadratic formula. You can complete the square. Type it in your calculator. Do whatever you have to find out where it hits the x-axis. And then sketch a graph. Okay? Do I need to finish this? No? Okay. Hold on.
And I know when my friends find out before, that's why I hope they find out like